Here's a little insight into how we organize videos. Usually this spot in the beginning is reserved for some sort of attention grabber, as you've got to suck your audience in and give them a reason to stick around for the rest of the video. But did you not see the headline? We're about to talk about the time a Yankee challenged an ostrich to a pasta eating contest. I don't know, if that's not enough for you, I'm not sure we can be friends anymore. Welcome back to the Dugs. Johnny Paprika here. Everything we do here, whether it be our experimental baseball tournaments or these mini documentaries, serves as a platform for telling a lot of baseball stories and a lot of jokes. So if that sounds interesting to you, stay in the know and help us grow by getting a free subscription to the channel and liking the video. Back to our story. Where do you even start with this thing? Well, let's start in the human corner. Challenging the ostrich, we have Francesco Stefano Pizzolo, otherwise known as Frank Stephen Bodie, otherwise known as Ping Bodie. Pasta was likely no hurdle for him, as he was clearly carb loading and then transforming those carbs into dongs. He stood 5'8" and was 195 pounds. He was described as a 6-footer that someone had dropped a safe on. While in the minor leagues, he'd put up a total of 30 home runs one year, which may not sound like a big deal, but you have to realize that this is the dead ball era. To put the 30 in perspective, Ping landed himself third in home runs in the major leagues in 1913, with a grand total of 8, 4 behind the leader, who had 12. The Yankees traded for him in 1918 and was Babe Ruth's first roommate with the squad, though Ping claimed that he never even saw the guy. He exclaimed, "Room with him? Why, I room with the big monkey's baggage." I could do a whole series of videos on Babe Ruth's shenanigans, but for the purpose of this video, I'll just leave it at one quote to paint a picture of where Ping Bodie's roommate was off to. When co-owner Cap Houston asked him to tone down his lifestyle, the Babe replied, "I'll promise to go easier on drinking and to get to bed earlier, but not for you. $50,000 or $250,000 will I give up women. They're just too much fun." So he's probably off playing canasta with them. From what I could tell, Ping Bodie refused to talk about baseball in any sort of standard language. In researching his past, I came across phrases like, "Give me the mace, I'll drop the pumpkin down Whitey Ford's throat." Or, "Boy, how I used to whale the old apple and smack the old onion." Or that he could hem-stitch the spheroid, which even back then didn't really mean anything to anyone, but he seemed to like it and he went with it. He also was a practical joker and has a deeper history with animals than just the ostrich debacle. On one particular night, several members of the Yankees went out to the local carnival and naturally dominated some of the throwing-related carnival games. Apparently, stuffed animals that kind of resemble the subject they were trying to emulate weren't the only prize you could win back then. No, the Yankees came away with a handful of live ducks. So what do you do with live ducks? Well, nothing boring. Ping Bodie played the role of a distraction as he offered to take the then team photographer Izzy Kaplan out to a movie. The story goes that he was actually a substandard distraction, as they were thrown out of the movie early when Ping could not contain his laughter, particularly during serious parts of the film. He was apparently already in stitches over the thought of what was going on back at the hotel room. Upon returning to his room that night, Izzy heard something that made him flee the room, run down to the lobby, and begin ranting and raving that his room was haunted. Upon closer examination, when the lights were on, the noise proved to be a family of baby ducks swimming contentedly in his bathtub, and a few that were just flying around the room as they pleased. He was asked whether he had left the window open, and when he replied yes, it was suggested that perhaps they flew in on their own accord. To which Izzy angrily retorted, "Oh, and I suppose they turned on the bathtub spigots too." That was just the opening act, however, for our ostrich main event. The idea of a man attempting to out-eat a beast began partially as a publicity stunt for the fairly recent opening of the Jacksonville Zoo. Of course, it's Jacksonville, Florida. Looking at their website now, the zoo brags that they are one of 7 zoos in the United States with an animal wellness team. That is now. Back in 1919, they were promoting shoving as much spaghetti down an ostrich's throat as it could take. They're not only the ones to blame, however. It was the Jacksonville Chamber of Commerce that touted Percy the Ostrich as the world's greatest eater. I once again headed to the internet to better understand the purpose of the Chamber of Commerce and was shocked to find out that not much had changed.
The group that I joined is called Impact Jacks, and we're basically the young professionals of the Chamber of Commerce. We do professional development events, government affairs.
Events where we shove as much spaghetti down an ostrich's throat as it could take. The Yankees were in the area for spring training and they caught wind of this ostrich being forced to brag about itself. One of the owners thought, well, we can't have that, so he nominated Ping Bodie to challenge the bird. The owner was the one paying for the outfielder's food bills on a daily basis, and so he was on the front lines of knowledge on how much Ping could put away. And Ping was definitely up for the challenge. Aside from this being 100% up his alley, baseball players of the early 1900s were not making much money. Many players had jobs in the off-season, and Bodie worked for many years beyond his retirement from baseball. He was an electrician on the Hollywood movie lots for 32 years following his playing career, and also managed an auto service station. So, if you give a baseball player an opportunity to earn a little scratch on the side, he'd be hard-pressed to turn it down. So let's find out about our eating champion, the ostrich. He should be operating at a little bit of an advantage, as ostriches have a 2-stomach leg up on humans, packing 3 in total. The notion that they bury their head in the sand is a myth. That rumor likely originated from the fact that they lower their head to avoid detection from predators. The plumage on an ostrich's head blends in well with the sand, and so from a distance it could look like that's what they've done. Besides, this video is proof that they would rather bury their heads in a series of plates of pasta rather than the sand anyhow. The average height of an ostrich is a little taller than the average human and weighs about twice as much. They can sprint upwards of 40 miles per hour. It can deliver a kick powerful enough to incapacitate a predator in one shot, and if the kick doesn't do it, they've got a 10-centimeter long talon on their feet. But none of this is geared towards aiding them in a fight where the challenge is to stuff the ostrich with as much spaghetti as it can take. They really souped up the bout. As in any proper duel, each competitor had their seconds. Ping selected his teammate Truck Hanna, and the ostrich was led out by the manager of the Brooklyn Dodgers, Wilbert Robinson. A little bit about Wilbert. Many affectionately refer to him as Uncle Robbie. Well, Weird Uncle Robbie once attempted to break a record by catching a baseball that was dropped out of an airplane flying at 525 feet above the ground, which is about the height of a 38-story building. Using a freefall calculator I found online and am trusting completely in this endeavor, it would take a baseball about 6 seconds to fall from this height, and by the time it made it to Uncle Robbie, it would be traveling at the speed of 125 miles per hour. Consequences of a misplay could be serious. Luckily, the guy on the plane straight up forgot to bring a baseball. He had a grapefruit though. Perhaps it was his breakfast. Well, the grapefruit hit the coach in the chest and splattered all over him upon impact. Uncle Robbie thought he had just lost an eye on account of the unexpected splatter and the wicked stinging that had just started in his eye on account of the acidity. Legend has it that this is the origin of the nickname the Grapefruit League. It's all fun and games until someone dies via the pamplemousse. Where my LaCroix fans at? So our combatants are led to the center of the ring. And yes, it was a ring. They constructed a boxing ring for the challenge. Bodie took to the stage and took a bow. Percy the Ostrich took the stage and began to peck at his second's belly. Thanks to the San Francisco Chronicle, which is located nowhere near Florida, but are apparently quite devoted to their residents as it was the birthplace of Bodie, we have a round-by-round or plate-by-plate summary of the match. It took Ping all of 1 plate of pasta to get pissed off at his fork, which by his estimation was the party to blame for not being able to pick up one particularly difficult sprig of pasta. So he subsequently flung the substandard fork into the crowd, and we were in a bare-knuckles battle from here on out. Ping impressed with his first 2 plates, while Percy the Ostrich seemed confused as if he were an ostrich dragged into the middle of a boxing ring, being encouraged to eat Italian human food while a crowd of Florida mans were screaming at you. By the 3rd plate, the ostrich had developed a taste for the Italian delicacy, however, and he outpaced Ping Bodie, eating with such gusto that he accidentally swallowed Coach Robinson's pocket watch, which he was using to time the event. Percy started to slow down during plates 4 and 5, while Ping showed no hesitation. Quite messy now that he had gone through 5 plates of pasta with his bare hands, he had the showmanship to turn down the napkin offered to him by his second. Now, before you get sad or report my channel to PETA, please take the rest of this bout with a grain of salt. We're going purely off of a 100-year-old newspaper article that was definitely written with a sense of satire, so it's tough to say what is exaggerated and what is not. During rounds 6 and 7, people began to leave the venue either because they were angry at the ostrich's rights being violated, or because they were afraid that the bird was about to blow, as Percy had reportedly begun to swell a bit. Things only got worse with the 8th plate, and during the 9th plate, onlookers began to yell at Percy the Ostrich's second to throw in the towel. But hardened by life experiences like getting hit in the chest with citrus thrown from considerable heights, Uncle Robbie yelled back, "Not while this bird is on his feet!" It was the 11th plate that did the ostrich in. They can run from lions, but they can't run from 11 plates of the bolognese. Bodie had nearly finished his 11th plate when the bird collapsed, unable to go on. Bodie was declared the winner, and the Jacksonville Chamber of Commerce were declared terrible human beings. Bodie would go on to live to the ripe old age of 74 and was inducted to the Italian-American Sports Hall of Fame, which is just super on the nose. Percy the Ostrich? Well, I don't think anyone's certain what happened to our stuffed friend, but Ping did make a statement after the match saying that eating pasta had a way of making him even hungrier and that he could really go for some bird. That wraps it up today, and we'll soon be back with more baseball hilarity. I do have a brief announcement. We've started a second channel that contains shorts called Doug's Shorts. Now, we're not going to be posting any new content to that channel. All the new stuff will be placed here on the main channel, but rather we've got quick 30 to 60 second clips containing some of the funnier bits we've done here at the Ducks. We're getting those clips out there for all the YouTube Shorts watchers that may not have heard of us and encouraging them to go back and check this main channel out. You can help us out by subscribing to the Shorts channel just to boost how many times our clips make it into the folks' queues. Or, if you've not seen a lot of our original experimental baseball tournament, feel free to go check out the clips over there, as it's kind of a greatest hits album. That does it for us. As always, for Hamish Hamden, who is most assuredly working on his voiceovers for Season 2 of the experimental baseball tournaments, I've been Johnny Paprika, hoping all your balls are fair and all of your wood is good. Good night, everybody!